York, but has slight curves in Amsterdam. This makes drivers pay attention and slow down. In New York, dangerous driver choices are a primary cause or contributing factor.
Olá pessoal, sejam bem-vindos a mais um vídeo desse canal. Nós somos cidadãos de terceiro mundo e nesse canal nós reagimos e aprendemos sobre o primeiro mundo. Nesse vídeo nós vamos reagir ao que Nova York deveria aprender das ruas de Amsterdã.
Então aproveite a oportunidade, considere se inscrever no nosso canal, clique no gostei, compartilhe esse vídeo e visite o nosso Instagram para fazer mais sugestões de conteúdos como esse. E agora, vamos para a reação.
This is a street in New York City, and this is a street in Amsterdam. At first glance, both cities have streets of similar widths, but their design choices couldn't be more different. One is a perfect example of a badly designed street, while the other has a solution that works. In New York, a wide straight road is packed with cars, while in Amsterdam, people cycle on smooth red asphalt, and an efficient transit corridor keeps the city moving. Its design makes it one of the world's most advanced street profiles, but it wasn't always this way. Decades ago, citizens in both countries protested, but change only came to Amsterdam. The city looks completely different today. New York promises change, but will it ever happen? New York and Amsterdam take radically different approaches to planning public space. To illustrate this, we'll compare two major streets, 3rd Avenue, New York, and Overtoom in Amsterdam. They have similar widths, and they serve the same purpose, connecting neighborhoods and acting as transit corridors. But the design of both streets couldn't be more different. On Overtoom, about 31% of the space is dedicated to cars, and public transport and cyclists each get their lanes. On 3rd Avenue, cars dominate. About 67% of public space is used for moving or parking cars. However, things used to be different. American cities had some of the best public transport systems in the world. 3rd Avenue had an elevated railway and a streetcar system. People also cycled. But then, everything changed. By the 1920s, cars had become more affordable and started taking over city streets. By the 1950s, more people were moving to the suburbs, traffic was rising, and cities prioritized cars. Highways were designed to connect all major cities in the US, and unlike in Europe, highways were built cutting straight through city centers. This combined with the rise of parking lots and modern office buildings led to thousands of beautiful buildings being demolished. Streetcar networks were ripped out, cobble streets were paved over with asphalt. 3rd Avenue was no exception. The elevated railway and the streetcar network was destroyed. Cars took over American cities. Buses were supposed to replace the old routes, but that never happened. Walkable and transit-friendly cities disappeared. By the late 19th
Isso é muito interessante. Aqui em nosso país acontece algo semelhante. A gente tinha um viaduto que atendia muito bem a demanda de carros. Atendia no sentido de reduzir o fluxo de carros. E tiraram esse viaduto, reduziram, mudaram o trânsito daqui também para implementar outros tipos de transporte público. Eu sei que no final o resultado é que a área onde eles tiraram o viaduto ficou realmente muito bonita para os visitantes e os turistas, mas em compensação o fluxo da cidade ficou muito pior. Às vezes a gente se depara com pessoas reclamando do trânsito da cidade. Realmente é muito caótico. As pessoas perdem muitas horas no trânsito. Então, realmente, o que ele está falando aqui em relação a uma mobilidade antiga ser diferente da atual, parece que a atual é pior, né?
Aqui, onde a gente mora, na verdade, eles fizeram algumas coisas e acabam melhorando um pouco o trânsito, mas na verdade ainda está bem ruim, mas já foi pior do que isso, né? Do que está hoje.
60s, Dutch cities were changing similarly, but unlike the US, they kept their tram networks largely intact. In both countries, congestion and road crashes rose, sparking resistance. In New York, activists like Jane Jacobs fought back against further highway expansion. They successfully blocked the Cross-Manhattan Expressway, which would have demolished Soho. A similar plan also failed in Amsterdam. In 1973, the oil crisis led the Dutch government to introduce car-free Sundays. Both countries saw protests against rising traffic deaths, especially among children. But the movement only gained widespread support in the Netherlands. Press conferences were held, and children visited the parliament. The Stop the Kindermoord campaign united people across different political beliefs. Politicians couldn't ignore the rising traffic deaths, and something had to be done. As complete redesigns would be too costly, early changes were cheap but effective. On Overtom, people cycling had to share the road with cars, so they painted bike lanes, and car lanes were reduced. Trams would get stuck in traffic throughout the city, therefore they installed concrete curbs to separate trams from cars. In 1975, multiple groups from throughout the country formed a National Cyclist Union that advocated for taking bicycles seriously in traffic policy. At the time, many demonstrations also took place. Most of them were peaceful, some were not. Over time came the bigger shifts, WONERFs and car-free city centers. A WONERF is a shared street design to slow cars and prioritize pedestrians and cyclists. More streets were designed with narrower roadways and smaller intersections. This was a huge shift in thinking, as street design guidelines had long prioritized wide and straight roads. Though most streets didn't implement this shared space design, they adopted other traffic calming measures, such as raising intersections and putting in speed bumps. Gradually, Dutch cities redefined public space.
We willen zoveel mogelijk verplaatsen naar de Habbermarkkade, naar de Amsteldijk en naar de Wieboudstraat. Als we via de Oude Pijp nemen we zoveel mogelijk geen richtungverkeer.
Bom, mais uma vez, é outro exemplo. Eles olham assim, precisamos resolver isso. Aí a gente tem um vídeo aqui ilustrativo da pessoa falando o que precisamos fazer para resolver isso e vamos resolver isso. Uau, isso é surpreendente.
Sim, isso é o que eu sempre falo. Eles têm um problema e eles tratam realmente, né, de achar a solução desse problema, né? E é isso que falta aqui.
En voor mij lijkt dus de buurt een aangewezen gebied om nu hier eens te beginnen met een proef van 30 km snelheid in deze straten.
All streets in the Netherlands were categorized into two types: traffic areas and residential areas. Traffic areas are larger streets that prioritize vehicle flow, like Overtom, and residential areas are quieter streets where through traffic is restricted and livability is prioritized. Residential areas would have a 30 km/h speed limit and preferably be made one way for cars, while cyclists would be
incrível a
exempt.
organização.
Cobblestone and brick were reintroduced, not just for aesthetics, but to slow down cars naturally. Meanwhile, traffic areas kept asphalt for efficiency. Cars continued to be a problem in city centers, and much like in the US, there were a bunch of parking lots and office buildings, making them undesirable places to live or spend free time. In response, cities like Groningen divided the city center into 4 zones. Cars couldn't drive directly from one area to another anymore, and instead had to make a detour. People walking and cycling were given priority. This plan was controversial among shop owners. They protested and called it an assassination attempt on the city. Fewer cars and parking spaces would mean fewer customers, but the opposite happened. Today, each of the 20 largest Dutch cities has restrictions on car use in the city center, making them some of the world's best urban environments. City centers came back to life, foot and bicycle traffic increased, and businesses are thriving. But the key to success wasn't a few cases of unrest. It was 20 years of increasing public support, efforts to redesign streets with protected bike lanes, and measures to restrict cars in the city center.
Isso realmente é fantástico, porque mostra como eles resolvendo um problema, né? Eles acharam ao mesmo tempo a solução para vários outros. E como eles realmente trataram, focaram em resolver isso, e isso gerou movimentação, né? Então você vê que isso realmente caminha tudo junto. E eu acho que muito disso não acontece aqui, porque quando você faz esse tipo de coisa, você está promovendo o progresso acompanhada de outras coisas, né? Outras coisas vão acompanhar isso e acaba desenvolvendo. Eu não sei, né? Acho que aqui eles não estão com intenção de desenvolver alguma coisa, então acabam que não fazem esse investimento, mas realmente é fantástico, porque a forma como os holandeses, eles se atentam aos detalhes para resolver as coisas é uma coisa impressionante, é uma coisa de outro mundo mesmo.
All of these efforts worked. Since the 1970s, traffic fatalities have dropped by 80%. Many streets look unrecognizable compared to 50 years ago. The way public space is allocated in each city directly impacts how people travel. In New York, 34% of trips are made by car, and only 3% are made by bike, while in Amsterdam, 21% are made by car, and 34% are made by bike. A direct result of building safe bike lanes in a dense city. Meanwhile, in the US, the car-centric mindset remains. A major factor in this was the rise of suburbia after World War II. Millions of Americans live in sprawling areas where driving is the only practical option, and low population density makes transit funding difficult. Even in downtowns, where cycling and transit used to be the go-to options, American downtowns are still for cars. However, New York is beginning to correct its past mistakes. The city has been constructing protected bike lanes to alleviate traffic congestion and improve road safety. However, this remains an exception rather than the norm. Streets like Third Avenue reflect the car-centric design that dominates American streets. Third Avenue has remained largely unchanged for the past 50 years. Overtown, meanwhile, has been completely transformed. Today, the street is a dedicated transit corridor that also provides a clear path for emergency vehicles, and the painted bike lanes have been transformed into curbside protected bike lanes that allow cyclists and people with disabilities to move around safely. People could cycle on Third Avenue, but would you let your kid cycle here? While Overtown has evolved into a safe street for all users, Third Avenue remains stuck in the past. If someone is brave enough to cycle, they are forced to squeeze between cars. Buses can get stuck in traffic, and pedestrians have to cross multiple lanes of traffic. Because Third Avenue has a wide and straight roadway with no physical obstacles, it is easier and more comfortable to drive fast. Wide and straight roads are dangerous, especially for pedestrians. From the above, we can see the difference. Third Avenue has 5 lanes of traffic that encourage high speeds. In contrast, Overtown only has 2 lanes of traffic and a lower speed limit of 30 kilometers an hour. This has helped to reduce air and noise pollution on the street. Also, notice how the roadway is completely straight in New York, but has slight curves in Amsterdam. This makes drivers pay attention and slow down. In New York, dangerous driver choices are a primary cause or contributing factor in 70% of pedestrian fatalities. But blaming drivers alone ignores a key factor.
Isso me deixa sem palavras, porque usar o que eles têm, usar o cérebro e colocar em prática o problema que tem para resolver, eles vão lá e resolvem. Você vê que os Estados Unidos é nosso país, as pessoas olham os Estados Unidos e veem os Estados Unidos como país de primeiro mundo. Mas eu vejo nesses vídeos que a gente faz reações aqui, a gente identifica várias coisas que são pontos que a gente considera negativos, que tem também em nosso país. E a gente vê um país como a Holanda que está resolvendo um problema. E as pessoas nos Estados Unidos mantêm uma mentalidade congelada. E isso é impressionante ver o que os holandeses fazem.
Street design directly impacts driver behavior and speed. This is why traffic islands are a crucial design element. Traffic islands should have raised curbs that center from the road and include a traffic column. In the Netherlands, they're everywhere because they make drivers slow down and pay more attention, making the street safer for everyone. Most importantly, traffic islands allow people to cross in multiple stages. This makes crossing safer and more comfortable. Additional safety features, such as warning markings and reflective elements, help keep drivers alert. Although the street is just one lane in each direction, it is enough, since intersections determine road capacity. This is why additional lanes are added only before intersections. To improve traffic flow, traffic detection strips on both the roadway and bike lanes means that every light cycle is adjusted to real-time traffic flow. Left turns are especially dangerous, so they usually have a dedicated light cycle to prevent potential head-on crashes. And at intersections with smaller streets, where there aren't traffic lights, exit constructions ensure that pedestrians and cyclists don't have to step down into the street, unlike in New York, where the sidewalk stops before an intersection. In Amsterdam, beveled curbs make drivers slow down before entering a residential street, and the continuous design shows that pedestrians and cyclists have the right of way. Overtown's design naturally encourages more awareness and slower speeds. Meanwhile, Third Avenue's car-centric design encourages people to speed. Car-centric design defines American streets. This is one of the main reasons why New Yorkers are almost twice as likely to die in a road crash than Amsterdammers. But Overtown is not just safe, it's incredibly efficient. While accurately measuring the number of people a street can move is challenging, reliable estimates suggest that Overtown can handle around 46,000 people per hour, while Third Avenue manages only about 21,000. Cars take up a lot of space, compared to trams and bicycles. A moving car takes up 28 times more space than a moving bicycle. But while we might call Overtown a traffic area, the street isn't just for traffic and parking. It's about balancing movement with creating a pleasant space for living and leisure. Streets are public spaces and bring people together. And of course, any street is nicer with trees, which create a much more pleasant space. Several buildings also have facade gardens in front of them. These tiny greenery patches add a lot and improve the overall atmosphere. Outdoor dining areas also contribute to a more enjoyable and lively street. The combination of traffic flow and meeting places gives streets like Overtown this distinct urban quality, while the rest of city streets are quiet residential streets. A huge difference exists if we map out the traffic flow between the two cities. In New York, traffic passes by on all streets. In Amsterdam, traffic flows in traffic areas, while residential areas are only used to access buildings. In most cities, cars are the main source of air and noise pollution. A clear hierarchy of loud and quiet streets minimizes exposure for as many people as possible. This is crucial as air pollution and environmental noise are leading causes of disease. Limiting through traffic is essential for public health. This division of public space also means that Amsterdam doesn't need as many traffic lights as New York does because of lower traffic volumes. But because Overtoom is a traffic area, it can of course see increased traffic. However, it's certainly not 5 lanes of cars, and you can avoid traffic by cycling or taking transit. The key is providing people multiple options to get around, like Amsterdam has with cycling and efficient bus and tram service. Because the only way to reduce traffic is to provide viable alternatives to driving. But this shift isn't just about transportation, it's about public health. Cycling brings economic health benefits of nearly 19 billion euros per year, improves both mental and physical well-being, and reduces air and noise pollution. Amsterdam understands this. Sustainable and healthy exercise is one of its 5 strategic development goals. New York, not so much. Every taxpayer funds road infrastructure, whether they drive or not. On streets like Overtoom, public space is allocated democratically. There's space for people to walk, cycle, take transit, and drive. Third Avenue, however, is mostly a street for cars. Streets for cars are far less efficient than streets for everybody. And of course, these vastly different design choices directly impact road safety.
Eu olhei a imagem ali dos Estados Unidos, me lembrou a avenida que a gente tem aqui no centro da cidade. É uma avenida bem grande, onde a maior parte do espaço é tudo para carros. Os carros vão, os carros vêm, é um trânsito de carros. Os carros estão transitando a todo momento e o espaço para mobilidade fica pequena.
In 2014, New York launched Vision Zero, claiming that no road deaths are acceptable. The city has also set goals to prioritize public transit, walking, and biking. Yet streets like Third Avenue, like most in the city, they tell a different story. New York may be ahead of most US cities in sustainable transportation, but compared to Amsterdam, it's still far behind. If the city truly wants safer, more livable streets, and to reach a sustainable mode share of 80% by 2050, it must completely rethink its approach to street design. Change isn't just possible, it's necessary, and it's also a choice to keep the city not only moving, but healthy.
Incrível. Eu vejo essas coisas e eu fico sem ter o que dizer, porque é só mais uma reafirmação do que a gente já vê nos outros vídeos. Tipo, realmente os holandeses, eles fazem um trabalho que eu nunca antes havia visto, antes de reagir aqui às coisas do canal, porque eles são realmente muito, muito detalhistas. Vocês se preocupam em fazer as coisas de uma forma muito, muito bem feita. E isso é uma coisa que a gente não tem aqui, né? A nossa administração pública, ela não pensa em resolver as coisas dessa forma. Então, quando a gente vê algo sendo feito realmente com a intenção de melhorar, né, a vida da população e preservar aquelas pessoas, a gente fica sem acreditar, né? E aqui você vê que o vídeo é uma comparação de um país rico para um outro país rico. Você vê que os Estados Unidos é um país que muitas pessoas colocam os Estados Unidos acima de qualquer outro país. E a gente vê que os Estados Unidos precisa aprender muito com outros países da Europa, né? A gente tem visto isso bastante aqui.
E é muito curioso que a gente vê as notícias desse país e a gente fica cada vez mais, a gente vê que as coisas de lá são muito parecidas com o que tem aqui. Então a gente percebe a diferença que tem a Holanda para os outros países, porque a gente pode se incluir nisso também, claro, por que não? A Holanda, ele é fantástico, como eles conseguem identificar o problema, as pessoas foram lá protestar, pedir, né, uma mudança que se refira à política adotada no país em relação ao trânsito, e os políticos atenderam a demanda da população, escutaram a população.
E se eu não me engano, há outro vídeo que eu acho que os holandeses reivindicaram alguma coisa e foram atendidos também. Então isso diz muito, né, sobre como as coisas funcionam lá.
Sim, exatamente. E aí eu fico muito surpreso que eu fico vendo esse tipo de coisa, enquanto em nosso país, dependendo do que as pessoas forem na rua protestar ou pedir para que o governo ouça elas, as suas reivindicações, dependendo do que for, elas são coibidas de fazer isso. Há uma repressão aqui policial que não permite realmente que esse tipo de coisa aconteça. Então a gente vê que... E nos Estados Unidos também, parece que há alguma coisa parecida lá. Enquanto a gente vê na Holanda, não. O cidadão está pedindo, paga imposto aqui, a gente vai modernizar isso para atender todos. Uau, isso é incrível, incrível, realmente fantástico. Mas essa é a reação desse vídeo, portanto aproveite a oportunidade, considere se inscrever no nosso canal, clique no gostei, compartilhe esse vídeo e visite o nosso Instagram para fazer mais sugestões de conteúdos como esse.
Muito obrigada por assistir esse vídeo e nos vemos na próxima reação.
Tchau!
Tchau!